and never a bore. You haven't heard it like this before. Yes, it's time to explore the things we care for. And though your jaw may hit the floor, we're still the weirdos you adore. We're the weirdos next door.
Hello, this is Nobi, he, him.
And this is Nicole, they, she.
And together we are
The Weirdos Next Door.
That was pretty nice.
Sure.
Hello, everybody. We are here with a special series regarding solely the Supreme Court, or the not so Supreme Court, as it has turned out.
Very much not.
Yes.
Super not supreme.
Yes. The conservatives, which is a nice way of framing racists, have pushed through three Trump-appointed, Trump-nominated justices, two of which were highly not qualified, highly unqualified, and actually the three of them...
One's a rapist.
And the three of them lied.
Yep.
You know, that's like the first rule of any kind of job you sign on to. It's anything you said during the application process, it was not true as grounds for dismissal. So, hello.
Yep.
There shouldn't even be an impeachment process.
It's like, we saw your entire job interview and you lied.
Yeah, you gave the interview. And you gave private interviews, and you assured Republican senators that
Roe is safe.
That Roe is safe. It's just natural. It's part of rule, part of law. And then you go, and then when it comes up, when Alito goes, ha, now we got our numbers bigger, they turn. Handmaiden, Brewski Beard Boy, and Gorsuch. I don't know. I know the least about him. He looks like, your basic.
Well, because that was his only legitimate nominee, kind of.
Well,
after they held up on Merrick Garland the entire time. That wasn't even a legitimate nominee, really.
Yeah, it should have been Merrick Garland.
But, yeah, we're starting a Not So Supreme Court series. And just to discuss, give some background and a little bit more, layman's explanation of how these Supreme Court decisions actually affect our day-to-day lives.
So there were a lot of decisions that came down near the very end of their term, and a lot of them are very controversial and are very huge topics that we've decided to break up into a series. And we are going to start off this first one with, we believe, the most hottest one, which is the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
So that is something. This happened, I think, about last week or the week before last, on a Friday, I believe.
6/24.
Yeah. So it's still pretty fresh. There's a lot of people talking, and even with all these mass shootings and the coverage being pulled in different directions, this is still very much at the top of the conversation today, at least amongst the majority of the media.
Yeah.
Whereas the conservative media is they're saying we won. We worked so hard for 50 years. Did not anybody see this coming?
Yeah, Christians won.
They were not secretive about their plans.
No, they've been just chipping away at what they could get away with, and slowly chipping their way into the Supreme Court until they had a conservative majority. Then they could throw the best case they possibly had at it and cross their fingers, and it worked.
Being dingbat, dickhead douchebags and lying all the way, and pulling stunts and stuff, and then why are the liberals, the Democrats, why must they take the high road? Okay, Michelle, take the higher ground. But the thing is, we're losing. Nice guys finish last. There's a reason why that happens. Because shitty people are the loudest. Shitty people are the worst. Shitty people are the ones that get the guns and shoot other people.
Yeah, it will always be the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Just in our neck of the woods, there is issues on our school board, of having school board members and the very vocal minority speaking out against, how dare you validate the existence of a trans child? How dare you validate their gender? How dare you not let my student dead name them? Like, it's fucked up. But because they're loud and annoying, and the powers that be don't want to deal with this and are getting threats and all of the bullshit that these people do, it gets scary and you don't want to go up against them anymore.
It's just a lot of insipid jingoism, and all the just these made up words, you know, and issues that don't really like exist, like critical race theory. It's not really a thing, you know. It's a theory.
It has not been discussed.
It has not been. It's not being taught.
It's not being taught at all in any public or government-funded K through 12 school in the United States. It's not.
Yeah.
You've been sold a bill of goods.
Anyway, back on topic.
Yes,
we're talking about the Unsupreme Court.
Yes. So we are talking about the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization case. Again, this was decided on officially on June 24th. However, there was a leaked opinion back in May that kind of gave us what we needed to know ahead of time. And I think that, I mean, again, we discussed this amongst ourselves, that I appreciate the person who leaked the decision, because they should be protected under whistleblower laws.
Yeah, it's totally a whistleblower. I don't know why they're saying it's criminal. It's not criminal at all.
Yeah, but it gave us a little over a month's notice to go hard on making sure that the places that especially the trigger laws went into effect almost immediately, that there would be some sort of way to have people serviced the day that this happened. And yes, it was still terrible. There were still people driving to appointments when this was released.
And being turned away.
Yeah, and being told that, no, like, that's not how it works. This is immediate. Like, as soon as they released this, everything shut down in some of these places. Everything.
Yeah, the trigger laws are ridiculous. And I'm sorry, but if you are, if you identify as a woman, or at least you are someone that can actually, give birth to another human, and you vote Republican.
Shame on you.
Way. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You are hurting yourselves.
I mean, but then these are the same people that say that a 10-year-old that gets pregnant by incestual rape is up for an opportunity.
Yes.
In her life.
Or that, all the egregious misogynistic patriarchal bullshit pulled by like the Trumpers and stuff like that on women is like, that's okay. Yep. You're condoning that.
Yep.
It's just locker room talk, just boys being boys. Okay, get back to it.
No, let's raise our boys to be better.
Yeah. So this was the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization decision. It was 6-3, as everybody knows. This is in March 2018.
Yeah, the official case started back in March 2018. Mississippi decided to enact a gestational age act prohibiting abortion after 15 weeks. The Women's Health Clinic, which is the only licensed abortion provider in Mississippi, challenged the law. They won a temporary restraining order to block enforcement. District Court held that decision that it was unconstitutional, and then it was appealed again by the state. Circuit Court holds again that the law was unconstitutional, so then it was officially sent to the Supreme Court.
Which kind of like makes you wonder, right?
Yeah, so the District and Circuit Court did their jobs and upheld a law that was unconstitutional.
Right.
So those judges made the right decisions.
Right.
So the official effects, or not effects that this has, but the official determination basically says that there is no constitutional protection to abortion.
Overturning the precedent set by the 1973 Roe v. Wade,
Yep.
also Planned Parenthood versus Casey, overturned Roe's trimester framework in favor of viability analysis, made spousal notification and made spousal notification a violation of 14A. rights returned to the states.
Yeah, so basically, it's the same good old Civil War excuse of, well, the Civil War was caused by states' rights, and but states' rights to do what? Slavery was mentioned 81 times in the Emancipation Proclamation, or not the Emancipation Proclamation, but the what was the document that officially broke off the whatever, but the secession papers. Like slavery was mentioned 81 times, and they still want to say that the Civil War was because of states' rights. States' rights to do what?
State rights to enslave people.
Yeah, we're
Or not enslave. Essentially, to have say over another human.
Mm-hmm. So guess
another
what?
human's body.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. So, like, the South is now winning again. Is that what we're saying?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh. So, of course, we know who made the opinions. The majority was Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Barrett, and Roberts. And they said that they held Roe and Casey must be overruled. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, including the one on which the defenders of Roe and Casey now chiefly rely, the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. That provision has been held to guarantee some rights that are not mentioned in the Constitution, but any such right might be deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition, and implicit in the concept of ordered liberty. How are we interpreting this?
They're basically trying to say it was never officially written on that piece of paper in 1776, so we can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
sorry.
back when they had slavery.
Back when they had slavery, back when women couldn't vote, back when anyone with darkly colored skin was three-fifths of a human.
3/5, yes.
Let's see, what else wasn't guaranteed to us? Your privacy. Your privacy was never fucking mentioned in the Constitution. Do you like the government not knowing what you do behind closed doors? Guess what? You're giving that away, because that is the grounds on which we got Roe v. Wade passed. That was the Casey Planned Parenthood. Again, sodomy laws, being able to have sex however we want and with whoever we want. A lot of these things were based around privacy laws of our government has no say in these things.
Right. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. That you're sort of hinting at what Clarence Thomas added.
Yes.
That we should explore other things. But we'll get to that. Let's talk about the dissent, because that's important.
Yes. So the dissenting opinion was written by Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. Again, these are not even liberal justices. They're just not conservative and have a desire to maintain rights.
They're not RGB level.
Yeah.
And they're definitely not Ketanji Brown Jackson level.
Yeah. So, the dissenting opinion said the government could not make that choice for women. The government could not control a woman's body or the course of a woman's life. It could not determine the woman's future would be. Respecting a woman as an autonomous being and granting her full equality meant giving her substantial choice over this most personal and most consequential of all life's decisions. Today, the court discards that balance. It says that from the very moment of fertilization, a woman has no right to speak of. A state can force her to bring a pregnancy to term, even at the steepest personal and familial costs. Whatever the exact scope of the coming laws, one result of today's decision is certain: the curtailment of women's rights and the status of free and equal citizens. The Constitution will, today's majority holds, provide no shield despite its guarantee of liberty and equality for all. Moreover, no subsequent factual developments have undermined Roe and Casey. Women continue to experience unplanned pregnancies. Lost my spot.
And unexpected developments in pregnancies.
Yeah. Women continue to experience unplanned pregnancies and unexpected developments in pregnancies. Pregnancies continue to have enormous physical, social, and economic consequences, even the most uncomplicated pregnancy imposes significant strain on the body, unavoidably involving significant physiological change and excruciating pain. For some women, pregnancy and childbirth can mean life-altering physical ailments or even death. Today, as noted earlier, the risk of carrying a pregnancy to term dwarf those as having an abortion. With sorrow for this court, but more for the many millions of American women who have today lost a fundamental Constitution protection, we dissent.
With sorrow.
With sorrow.
Mainly for the more than half of our population that now has no rights over their bodies.
Yep.
But also we are a sad fucking court.
Yep.
We are a really shitty panel of human beings.
Yep. These are the decisions we're making.
And we're fucking over.
We're sorry.
We don't care about half of America.
Yep.
And essentially, because it's mostly conservative, we don't care about 3/4 of America.
Yep.
So what do we care about? The white males. All right. Much anger.
Yep.
Reactions, consequences. What is that? So, the opinion was essentially same as the leaked opinion, so there wasn't much change to it.
No.
Even despite all the,
This is just how we do
hullabaloo.
things.
Yeah.
We write opinions for both sides. No.
And 13 states had trigger laws on the books in the event of the overturn of Roe, and 13 other states are expected to follow, making abortion even harder to access in more than half of the U.S.
Yep. So making it entirely illegal, we have South Dakota, Missouri, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana.
Fucking Missouri.
In a couple states, Utah, Kentucky, and Louisiana, their trigger laws have been blocked by court for the time being. They don't know how long that's actually going to stand up. Mississippi, Wyoming, Idaho, Tennessee, and North Dakota already have pending legislature to start banning abortion entirely. In Ohio, Tennessee, and South Carolina, we have 6-week abortion bans. Florida's 15-week ban is paused, but it's eventually expected to pass anyway. Florida, Montana, and Kansas luckily have protections built into their state constitution that will prevent a full ban. And interestingly enough, Arizona, Michigan, and West Virginia still have pre-Roe laws on the books. They never bothered to be like, hey, that's unconstitutional now. We should maybe get rid of that. No, they kept it so that when it
sit there.
yeah, just in case we need it later.
It's been overruled. Yes.
Like their little legal hoarders. Like I might need that again.
And they did.
Yep. So all of these rules create a super fun little patchwork of legal protections or not across our states. Which basically means that if you are in a state that has any sort of restrictions, it's going to be more difficult. Say you don't find out until you're 10 weeks along and you're in a 6-week state.
Yeah.
Now you have to figure out how to get the money to travel to somewhere else to have a procedure done. And by the way, you also have to take time off work.
Yep.
Figure out how to afford that. Have fun.
Yep.
And God forbid it takes you another, 5 weeks to save that money, and now you're at 15 weeks. And most of the states neighboring you are 15-week states.
Yep.
Like, that's how we end up with quote-unquote late-term abortions, is you either don't find out until much later, you're having some sort of medical issue, or you had to figure out how to get to somewhere where you could actually get this to happen, and that involves money.
Yeah.
And if you're a lower income person, that is really, really difficult. If you are a lower income person that already has children, that gets exponentially more difficult.
Yeah. And the thing about this is it's easy for, like, who was it, like some of these conservatives that they've had girlfriends and wives and mistresses that they've like shipped off to other states to get abortions and stuff. That's because they're privileged and they can afford it.
Yeah. And I can throw you on my jet and say that it was a campaign expense.
Yeah. So essentially what this is doing is ensuring that there is an increased supply of domestic infants, domestic bodies. Essentially, I think they're thinking like, we need more bodies for the military. We need more
Oh,
bodies
absolutely.
for support staff. We need more, bodies to like, throw in front of,
Oh yeah, I'm
you
waiting
know,
for the headline of millennials have ruined the military industrial complex because we're not popping out babies to go join the military. Like, sorry, no. No thanks.
just the way of putting that, domestic supply of,
Yeah, domestic supply of infants. Yes, that is an actual phrase in the majority opinion that it will mess up the domestic supply of infants.
we already have an overpopulation issue.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what else? So, what are the big takeaways? How are you feeling personally?
I mean, I am thankful that I have had access to options in my life. Most of that has been preventative. I luckily have not had to make that decision personally.
Yeah.
I know and love plenty of people who have,
Yep.
because that was their choice. It doesn't matter what their circumstances were, it was their choice. And I will always 100% support them.
Yeah. Like having to explain yourself. Well, why do you want this?
Yep. It doesn't matter whether it's I can't afford it, I don't want to have a baby with my current partner, and that might be an abusive situation where you don't want to bring a child into your abusive household that you can't figure out how to get out of yet. Like all of these things, or the super fun one of you were sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna make me carry my rapist child to term, regardless of whether adoption. I decide to keep, you're going to make me bring my rapist child to term. I am growing a monster inside of me. Like, do you not understand the psychological harm?
Yeah. And who's gonna like, what about the harm and wear on the mother?
Yep.
What about like, how are they going to be able to work and support themselves when they are having morning sickness or they're laid up in bed because of
Yep.
toxemia nervosa?
And then, okay, she births a child. Guess what? We don't have paid maternity leave. If you work at a small company, they don't have to hold your spot for you. You don't have that protection if you work for a small employer. You only have that protection if you work for a large employer.
Yeah.
And even then, okay, you get 4 or 6 weeks if you're lucky. Maybe. And then you have to figure out childcare from there.
Yeah.
And childcare's expensive as shit.
It's not as easy as growing your hair out for 9 months and then cutting it off and donating it, right? That's how they're treating it.
Yeah.
Oh, you got pregnant? Oh, just put it up for adoption. It's like, dude, 9 months of this shit.
Yep.
And, giving
Recovery
childbirth is not
afterwards.
easy. Postpartum depression, looking into a baby's eyes and seeing the eyes of your rapist, it's like,
And that's not even mentioning that among women of color, birthing bodies of color, they already have the highest maternal mortality rate and the highest infant mortality rate.
a lot of that's systemic because of the way the system is set up, right?
Yep.
Systemic racism.
I don't
It's
believe
real
that you're in
shit.
as much pain as you're in because you're just a drug seeker anyway. Like, you're one of those people that has 8 children. Maybe if you made birth control affordable and accessible and
Mm-hmm.
and made abortions legal. Huh, weird.
Yeah.
Weird how that works. And again, the majority of abortions, about I think the most recent data is 80% of abortions are done in before 6 weeks. Outside of that, you're getting into fractions of percentages, but because it's inflammatory language that we can use to rally up our fucking base,
Yeah.
no, late-term abortions don't happen as often as these psychopaths are making you think.
Yeah, like the answer that the governor of your former state, Wheels, as you like to call him, when someone said like, "What about rapists?" and he said, "Well, we have laws. We're gonna like get rid of rape. We're not gonna have rape anymore."
Yeah, rape's
Yeah,
gonna disappear.
And you know what? I think there should always be a mandatory how follow-up answer.
Yeah.
Say, oh, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fucker, how? Bitch, tell us. Because you ain't doing it. It's not being done.
Yep. Many have tried.
What's
Few
your
have succeeded.
what's your secret? What do you know?
What's your secret sauce?
Yeah, what do you got in your back pocket that's gonna do what you say it's gonna do, but you haven't done shit yet, and actually it's probably worse.
Or are you gonna just do the 45 party line and I'm gonna get the best people on it. I'm gonna get the best people. Yeah, it's always someone else's problem.
It's like keep asking the hows and the whys.
Yeah.
You gotta get people to start thinking about themselves, thinking about what the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And realizing that this document, the Constitution, was written when slavery was legal, when women were not allowed to vote, where it's like all that stuff we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and a lot of this, I mean, among privacy being one of the other big things that helps us get these laws passed, there's also the big thing of religion that is pumping behind these decisions.
Yeah.
That it is a conservative religion bullshit thing that has made its way so deeply into our legislature.
Oh yeah. I mean that's even like one of our other episodes coming up here. We're going to talk about how like the separation of church and state is like has never really been.
Yep.
But is actually being now in your face, openly combining, and we'll talk about that in another future episode.
There are some decisions specifically around separation of church and state and church and schooling.
Actually, church and schooling and funding and stuff like that. Anyway,
so those are upcoming, but we try so hard to hold on to this document from so far ago that it, like, yes, there are pieces of it that are absolutely genius. They are so beautifully written, and how these people, yes, at the end of the day there is so much systemic racism built into them, but they had decent ideas. Like, yes, separation of church and state, because guess what we left? We left a highly religious monarchy that started killing everyone for not being Christian enough. Huh.
weird. When I was but a young pup in the ad biz, and I was working in some agency. I think I was freelancing, and my partner and I, we were presenting this idea, and we did this whole concept of, I forgot what it was, but it was like this and that. And I knew, because I was trained in advertising, especially creative, I knew the rules and the laws, and I knew who wrote what books and whatever, right? But they're really old books, like written in the 50s and 40s, 50s, right? And I did something that was against it, and like the CEO of the company, not even the creative director, the CEO, the big guy, was there. You get one guess on gender and race.
Old white man?
Yes. Yes. Surprise. So he goes like, that's not what John Caples says. And John Caples is like one of the early like pioneers, founding fathers of advertising, specifically direct marketing, direct response advertising. He did the famous ad like, they all laughed when I sat down at the piano, but when I started to play, ... right? That's one of those things. And it was for like a piano lesson, thing. Anyway, when he mentioned Caples, and I was like, oh my God, that's so old. His response was, the Bible's really old. So
Your storybooks.
So the Constitution, as much as we grouse about how old it is, it's white people, white men, tend to hold on to things like the Bible, John Caples, and I don't know why I'm throwing John Caples in with the Bibles.
Well, I mean, it goes back to like one of those interview questions that you're always that I've been asked of, like, how do you bring up, that you want to change something in our company, and I'd come up with some idea, and they'd be like, oh, but what if someone says, but that's the way we've always done it? They'd be like, I would ask why.
And then you get the, well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Don't call us, we'll call you.
I didn't get these jobs.
I see, that's a really horrible question. They're gauging how much of a
Are you willing to challenge authority?
How spineless are you? How much of a yes person are you?
Like, I'm sorry, because it's the way we've always done it is not a good enough reason for me.
For me, that's a red flag. I'm like, you know what? If you have to ask a question like that, I think we're done here, and I would get up and walk away. That would be hilarious.
Because it's how we've always done it is not a good enough reason for me for anything. But like, again, you're talking about this document from 1776.
Yes.
But where a lot of people get, and which people get confused by it is, we are not a Christian nation. We were never supposed to be. We weren't. And that, like, there are actual quotations from our founding fathers that back it up. Like, we have Thomas Jefferson, Christianity neither is nor ever was part of common law. James Madison, religion and government will both exist in greater purity the less they are mixed together. John Adams, the government in the United States is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion. It's not supposed to have a place in our legislature.
The key reason for the whole,
why
revolution,
United States exists.
The whole revolution was the separation of church and state, because they're outcasts.
Freedom of religion.
They're essentially outcasts from England, and they hated the whole notion of the king ruling everything. It was like church and state was all like melded together. So it's supposed to be separate, but somehow it just wants to go back.
We've become our worst nightmare. What?
Well, no. It's
but
white men have become our worst nightmare.
But we became all of these things that we hated. Yeah. Like, it's this fucked up, twisted. I don't even know how to describe it anymore.
I don't even know how to talk to, as evidenced by all the horrible encounters I've had on Facebook, and how many people I've had to block, or unfollow. But it was just they just can't grasp reality. They have no sense of logic. They have no sense of fairness. That's abundantly clear.
Oh no, fairness and equity have no spot in their worldview.
Yeah, no. It's we're on top, you're on bottom, and you need to stay that way.
And if you get more, I get less.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not how our society was supposed to work. Our society was supposed to be built around community and coming together and supporting one another. But we have gone so far into individualism and I mean it's I don't know, it's evidenced even in how we go through our world on a daily basis. Like, most of us are annoyed with our neighbors. Like I love our neighbors for the most part. But like in normal...
Do they love us, though?
Yeah, do they love us?
No, we're the weirdos next door.
Yeah. But it's like, but I will always fight for our neighbors to make sure that they have the rights to do whatever the fuck they want to do behind their closed doors.
Well, it's because, right, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, correct? And so we want to have total autonomy.
Yep.
But we, being decent, normal human beings, wish the same for everybody else.
Yep.
The same, across the board.
Whereas
others don't believe that's true.
Yeah. The same people who are saying, I want my religion, are forgetting that I'm willing to fight for you to have your religion, but your religion does not dictate shit about how I should be going through my life.
Right.
Not one fucking bit.
Right.
And also, one of the other interesting things in, you know, the media that we've been intaking through all this was things like Planned Parenthood and things like that. They were built by the clergy because they saw this shit happening. Religion built that network.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? How do you call yourself a good Christian person and not be willing to actually support good Christian ideals?
Because people have twisted it or interpreted religion, and the big issue really is people believing that their religion is the only religion, and everybody else needs to be conquered and missionaried into death.
My religion
into submission.
says that shouldn't happen, so you shouldn't get to do that. No, that dictates your personal morals, your personal actions.
It's the colonizer kind of.
Yep. Oh, it's total colonizer mentality.
Colonizer mentality. Yeah. Like, for instance, I was talking to like a good friend of mine, who I love dearly, but I cannot stand to be around right now. Because I think the last conversation we had, we're talking about the pipeline, right?
Yes.
And all the protesters going to the pipeline. It wasn't the name of the pipeline. It was a
Keystone.
Yeah, Keystone. We're talking about that, and he was talking about the hypocrisy of, you know, they're there, you know, protesting, you know, against petroleum, and yet how'd they get there? They flew in airplanes. They took a bus. They drove those big, you know, trucks to the, you know, there. And it's like, when you have that mentality, I lose it. I go like, you know, what do you say to that?
Well, I mean, there's a few things, but it's literally a straw man argument. You are literally grasping at straws. Like, you're doing so much whataboutism of, well, their side can't be right because they're still doing my thing. It's like, that's not how it works. They still have to work within the constraints of the society we have been given.
Yeah, I mean, anything that was invented, anything new had to be created without that benefit, right? So the existing the existing fuel for us to get around is gasoline.
And yeah, I'd love to get away from it, but guess what? Car makers make it so financially unfeasible for us to actually own these vehicles. And we know that there's other sorts of batteries and power out there, but you won't give them to us because guess what? You also want those gas monies.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me personally, we've kind of bounced around. I've spent a lot of time very emotional just because so many women are going to die.
Yeah.
So many women aren't going to get the care that they need. So many women are going to have children that it's not that they necessarily didn't want them. It's that children that they didn't have the ability to care for the way that they would like to care for a child.
Yeah.
And then that child is going to grow up not getting the care that they need, and possibly end up in foster care that's already overcrowded and underfunded. And y'all keep on saying you're going to adopt these babies, but where have you been for the last 50 years? Why do we still have 500,000 kids in foster care if you're so willing to adopt them?
Yeah.
Back it up.
Yeah. There's no support. It's like, you know, forcing to have babies, but then just leaving you high and dry. That's really horrible. It's really, they don't care about the mortality rate of women of color.
No. They never have.
You know, they don't care about women. And they've like tricked a bunch of women into not caring about themselves. And it's pretty much women of color, fuck you. Yep. Go fuck off.
Yep. No, women of color, I forget who said it, but I still completely agree. Women of color are the least respected people in this society. And yes, that includes trans women and any sort of birthing body of color.
Yeah. We do have to expand the Supreme Court.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been expanded already, like once.
Because what started at 4?
Once or twice, yeah. No, I think it was
I-
at 6.
I will eventually have to
You
do
will.
a little touch on that,
Yeah.
but it's supposed to reflect the number of circuit courts. There are currently 14 circuit courts. We're supposed to have 14 justices. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. But no, we're just going to continue to phrase it as court packing and just the liberals getting what they want. But it's like, no, there's historical basis as to why it's supposed to be this way.
Yep.
You just know it's not going to go your way. It's the same bullshit of, I mean, they've been gerrymandering their way into majority control this entire time. There has not been a president that has won both, or a Republican
vote.
president that has both won the popular vote and the electoral vote, and it's purely because of gerrymandering.
Yep.
And that trickles down into fucking everything.
Yep.
I hate it here.
Do you think, though, that if this were to happen, this overturning of Roe v. Wade, that perhaps the timing might be beneficial for liberals and Democrats at midterms? Coming up in
It
6
could
months
go
from now?
either way. Like,
Yeah.
that's the really scary part of, there's so many other inflammatory topics. There's so many single issue voters, especially on the conservative side.
I think the key is just to really get the, women
Yeah.
up in arms. Get that going.
Yeah. I know that there's so many arguments against white feminism, and a big one has been Roe v. Wade, is you'll support all the other shit until it actually affects you. Until it actually is on your fucking doorstep. Well, here it is.
Yep.
Your dudes kept on saying they were gonna keep it. Your dudes kept on saying that Roe v. Wade were safe. Guess what? It's not. Your white feminism is part of what got us here.
Has anybody called for an impeached? I don't know if they even if they're even entertaining that, because you can impeach a Supreme Court justice, and it's the same process as impeaching a president.
Yep.
But I have not heard any talk anywhere from any of the anybody in Congress about following any sort of impeachment. And they're even going into Clarence Thomas and his wife Ginny for her part in the Stop the Steal rally on January 6th.
Yep. It's like there's grounds.
There's grounds.
I think for right now they're too scared to make any sort of rash decisions in that regard because midterms coming up.
Yeah, I really feel like.
But then again, if we lose any ground that we have made in the House or the Senate, then we're screwed anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to be sitting here for another 2 years while nothing happens at all. And guess what? I have no idea who is going to end up fucking running from the Democratic side in 2024 who's actually going to be fucking worth it. Like, there's mumblings of Newsom, which he has plenty of not great things, but it's like, fuck it. You at least got us through a pandemic halfway decently.
And he's trolling DeSantis.
He's trolling
really
DeSantis,
well.
so I'm loving it.
I love what he's doing on
Truth Social.
on Trump's quote unquote fake truth social.
Yep. He's just trolling the conservatives on Truth Social right now,
it's
and
beautiful.
I'm quite content with it.
I've been racking my brain on how to do the same, but of course he has a bigger platform. But still.
And I mean, I don't know if Beto will come back out of the woodwork, but that also depends on how his November goes. As we're getting to
how great would it be if he gets
Texas.
Abbott out of office?
It'd be amazing.
But it'd probably be really hard.
it's going to be really, really hard, and he is currently not polling all that great.
Yeah.
I mean, in comparison, like he's polling really well for a Democratic governor candidate in Texas, but that's still not enough.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it depends on how many people actually mobilize, which, you know, it's going to be young people, it's going to be white femmes that really need to show up.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's going to be a very interesting few months as we move through some new phases.
So,
I don't know.
So, to kind of wrap this up here, I need to know, or I would like to know, your thoughts on, seeing as how this really affects you more than me.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like me to support you in this respect, in being an ally?
I mean, I think in our personal relationship, you always have. I mean, we still need to eventually do a whole episode around, you know, us and our relationship with parenting.
Yes.
And all that kind of fun stuff. But I mean, even just a couple of years ago when I got my IUD changed,
Mm-hmm.
you went through a whole arc of processing it on your own,
Mm-hmm.
which was really interesting for me because I didn't expect it.
What did I do?
I mean, because you've had a vasectomy.
Yeah.
It's not a quote unquote worry.
Yeah.
For us.
Not a concern.
Like maybe TMI, but we don't use barriers.
Yes.
Like we don't. We've been together for 5 years.
We are fluid bonded. Yes.
We fluid bonded. We get our STI screenings regularly.
Mm-hmm.
We take care of each other and each
Yeah.
other's mental health, or not mental health, sexual health, and all
Yep.
that kind of fun stuff.
Yep.
And I had my first IUD in 2013. I mean, just as a quick overview, again, I'm really thankful to have had the options and accessibleness of birth control options, because I went through, I think I went on birth control for the first time when I was 15.
Yeah.
I've gone through plenty of options as far as the pills go, the shots, anything you could pretty much do, I've tried. I of course have mental health issues that, you know, can come and go even worse with birth controls. And my IUD has been my favorite option. I had my first one put in in 2013.
Yep.
So I was 20-ish. And it was a decision I made because, again, being a young person, socialized female, there will always be that fear of being sexually assaulted in the back of my brain. It lives there.
Yeah.
It has a nice little residency. And that comes with, what if it's unprotected? What if I can't get them to at least put a condom on? And then I do have to make that decision. So what can I do to prevent that from ever having to happen? I get an IUD. And it's also so I don't have to remember to take a pill every day.
Which is annoying as fuck.
It's really annoying. I do it with...
Do we have enough pills we have to take
And
on
I
a
have
daily
plenty.
basis?
I don't want to have this one that could, you know, if I miss it, it's a $10,000 a year fucking implosion in my life.
Yes.
Like...
Yes. Or at least like a really horrible experience of having to go through an abortion.
Yeah. And so then I had mine reinserted in 2018 after 5 years. And that was the one that you were with me on. You drove me to my appointment, all that kind of fun stuff. But again, you had your own processing to do. And it kind of went, there was why do you need an IUD? I have a vasectomy. And then we had that whole discussion of what we just talked about. And you were like, yes, like, I get it. And I think that was also the first time we had the discussion, because I think you asked me, like, well, what if you changed your mind and we wanted to have kids? Like, what if, I reversed my vasectomy and I literally told you I need to be able to trust you when the baby crazy does come, so please don't do that. I need you to say no to me, that it's just a phase, I'll get through it.
Is that when you need a new kitten? Is that like...
Pretty much. That's probably what's going to happen. I'm going to get baby crazy and I'm going to come home with a kitten. That's probably how this is going to go.
You'll have postpartum depression because I will take that kitten away and return it.
No, you won't. Because you'll love it too.
Shut up.
And Smudge will love
And
it.
it has to be
and you
less
can't
than,
make Smudge unhappy.
It has to be less than 2 months old.
But so yeah, I would say that you're already on the right track of like you support my decisions. And we've recently been talking about, more long-term birth control options,
Like
and
sterilization.
Yeah, which is going to be like that is the bit of data that I'm interested in seeing in 6 months and again in a year, is how many people that are of fertility age end up getting sterilized in the next year or so.
There's actually been a jump in vasectomies.
Good.
I mean, from the leaked draft, it's been steadily going up. And these are responsible people, the ones that actually the ones that can afford abortions out of state, but they're like, we don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So
you shouldn't have to deal with that. But it's also like, as far as dating apps go, I've seen people that have added penis havers must have a vasectomy. Like, need not apply if you're trying to impregnate people. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
And yeah, I have to agree. Like, I probably will go through things a little differently as things move on. But again, I also take my own decisions very seriously, and I go with preventative because that's better for my mental health.
Always.
Like,
yes, agreed.
Our typical thing. The less I have to think about it, the more I remove myself from
remove yourself to improve yourself.
How this thing can possibly go wrong, the better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that again, you've been supportive, and I know that in the event that something did go wrong, because with an IUD, I still have the very, very, very minute possibility of fertilization occurring.
Yep.
Basically, if that happens, it's an automatic ectopic pregnancy. It's an automatic failure. I still have to have an abortion. Ta-da! That's how these things work.
Wouldn't it just create like a heavier menstruation flow?
No, because where it would end up getting fertilized at, it would end up getting stuck in a fallopian tube.
Oh,
and that's where the whole ectopic pregnancy comes in. It ends up, it can't get through because my
birth control device has no effect that far.
Yeah,
Yep.
doesn't affect anything, but the uterus is closed essentially.
Yep.
So yeah, I know that in the event that if that had to happen, yeah, you would not happily, you would make sure that you were the one taking me to the doctor and picking me up after my procedure. You would be in the room with me if I asked you to.
Yep.
Like 100%. I know that you would not leave my side if I didn't want you to.
Plus, I love medical gadgets. They're kind of cool.
You're totally the dad that goes through the drawers during appointments.
I like tongue depressors. Anyway, well, I think we've pretty much covered the topic here for our first episode on the Supreme Court.
Yep.
And we talked about the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which has been quite the flashpoint for a lot of activity.
Yeah, it's been very emotional for most of the femmes that I know. So check on your girls.
Yep.
Like we're not doing great.
Yep. All right, guys. Check on the femmes in your life, and make sure they're doing okay. Just be there. Be there.
And yeah, I will say, the silence is really really deadening. So yes, please do. Even if you think like, oh no, like they know I support them, send them a text anyway.
Yeah. Or share this show with them, this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do that anyway. Share the episode. Come check us out on weirdosonline.com.
To see our link tree and link to all of our fun and good things. But otherwise, we'll be right back at you next time with another segment of the Not So Supreme Court.
Yes. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta!
Smash your social mores with the weirdos next door.